And today's guest on the Financial Planner Live podcast is Adrian Benjamin. You might remember Adrian Benjamin from 2 years ago when he came on the podcast. But today he shares why he has joined Hoxton Capital Management. I'm so pleased he's joined the business as a protection consultant. So today we're going to find out why he joined and what he's been up to in the last 2 years in his successful career within protection. I hope you enjoy the episode. Adrian, thanks for joining me today on the Financial Planner Live podcast. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Sam. Thank you for inviting me back for a second time.
Welcome back. I mean, you've been on the podcast how long ago now?
I think over 2 years ago.
Over 2 years ago. Fantastic. So, welcome back to the Financial Planner Live. You are a protection specialist. We've been friends, haven't we, now for about 2 years? And you even featured on the Just Covered podcast with Legal in General. But there's a special reason I've invited you back today onto the Financial Planner Live podcast, because you're joining me at Hoxton.
Yes.
So this podcast is to announce you joining Hoxton as a protection consultant. So welcome to the team.
Thank you very much.
It's brilliant to have you on board.
Very good recruitment consultant, Sam. Very good.
Well, I do try. But let's talk about it. You know, you've been working self-employed as a protection consultant for quite some time now. So first off, why join Hoxton? Why Hoxton?
Good question. I think they're a very forward-thinking modern firm. I think they're very ambitious. I think their use of social media bringing you on board is massive. Their wealth app that they've got, is amazing. They've got an internal IT team, and they want to just grow as big as possible. Like they've bought a number of firms in the UK, and they probably will continue to do that. And also the international appeal as well, having offices in Dubai, which is the main office, New York, and then Australia. And I think they've got some others as well. Yeah. That's really appealing. Not just to do protection, but also, you've got mortgages. You can be an IFA as well. So there's like different roles and paths that you can pick. So that was the appeal to me. And then obviously you bribing me as well. So yeah.
Bribing? I don't bribe anybody. So that's really, really good news. Well, look, I'm really, really pleased to get you on board. 2 years ago, I learned just how incredibly passionate you are about protection, and you really do feel that protection isn't a product or service that is talked about enough within financial planning, which is why you've pretty much hung your hat on that specific area. And I know you've done a lot of work on social media. You've done a lot of work training, developing and sharing why protection, healthcare cover, all those things that often get pushed to one side is so important. So what's happened in the last couple of years? What's changed since the last time we spoke?
So the last time we spoke, quite a lot has happened. I was really focused on social media to just bring awareness of myself and then also the industry. So off the back of the first podcast with you, someone messaged me on LinkedIn about how to get into protection. And I just said, look, try and partner with someone. And he was working at Foot Locker at the time. And he just rang up a mortgage broker and said, same thing that I said, look, if you've got a gap in protection and I'll help you with it. And that's how he got in. And now he's a financial advisor at SJP.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So that just shows the power of this podcast that, people do watch and then they do take action. So that was great. Like you mentioned before, working with Legal in General, that was massive on their own financial podcast, which is quite big. I actually got to win the Dr. Mariner Sparnod Award from Scottish Widows with my contribution to the industry using social media. So that was a big one because, working in a bank, with my background, they don't give out awards to anyone. So that was huge. And then also the firm that I was working with as well, only being there 12 to 18 months, I won top advisor out of 200 protection only advisors. So that to me, again, was massive, just showing that working really hard, put myself out there, people are receptive to it, and it's got me to where I am. So I'm very, very proud of that. And then also from a personal perspective as well, even though I am very big on protection, dealing with it myself as well. So under a month after we shot that episode, I was going through my dad's WhatsApps the other day. He actually messaged me because he was getting more into social media. And I think I put on my WhatsApp status the link that we did. So he watched it and he messaged me saying, "Oh, finally now I know what you actually do," which is kind of weird because I don't really talk about what I do with family and things like that. So that was kind of cool. But unfortunately he passed away when we were going to drive up to Manchester to see him 2 years ago. So living with like loss and, you know, still working, things like that, it was a lot. And I'm also a very big advocate of mental health. So when I do talk about protection to my clients, I always say, use these services that they have, depending on the provider. It is really, really helpful. And when I was going through that situation, it was actually one of my clients that said, she was like, "How's everything?" Like, "I'm fine, you know, just looking after the family." She's like, "You need to look after yourself." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, but I've got to look after, you know, my family." She's like, "No, like next time I speak to you, like I want you to speak to a bereavement counsellor." So I pushed it down the road, and I don't need it. And then she shouted at me the last time she spoke to me. And then my other friend as well, who lost his dad, shouted at me. So then I was like, you know what, let me just see what it's about. I've got my own life insurance policy, spoke to the bereavement specialist there, and it's been the best thing ever. So anyone that loses anyone, I massively encourage you to speak to a professional who's trained in that. I've been speaking to a bereavement counsellor for like over 2 years now, and it's helped me massively. And anyone I speak to who's lost anyone, I always say, you don't have to do it straight away, whenever you're ready. And I've done a podcast with Vitality as well, just on dealing with grief. And it is stressful being self-employed because I couldn't stop working because all that momentum I built, I can't stop. Like I still have bills to pay. And also that was kind of my way of dealing with it. So I just kept on working. So the day after we buried my dad, I was at the Ned getting the Dr. Marinus Barnard Award. So I was just consistently working, had record months, and that was kind of my way of dealing with it. However, it's not burying my head in the sand. It was what I felt was right. And then January 2023, I just, not to have a breakdown, but I just needed to stop. Like going through all that stuff, not stopping, knowing that I'm going to be dad, dealing with all that was a lot. So I just wanted to get away from everyone and everything. And I said, let me just get to the end of the year. So I actually flew to Dubai in January 2023. And it was great for me to deal with it, relax. The family said, you know, just relax, don't do work. So I didn't do any work, but you know me, I'm a networker, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I put on Facebook and LinkedIn, "Hey guys, I'm going to be in Dubai for a couple of days. Anyone want to meet up for a coffee?" Loads of people actually did. And I've got a friend who I met on a rugby tour in Vegas in 2013. So there was 39 of us that went to Vegas. I'm sure that's another episode that we can talk about, but the power of networking. And he'd been in Dubai for 7 years. And I said, look, can we just have a chat? And we did. He talked about how Dubai's been great for him and his family. And he said, you know, I said, is there anyone in financial services that you think I should speak to? He referred me to someone. He gave me loads of advice, and then he recommended Hoxton. And he's actually, he had been recruited by Ollie Gorman, who is the king of recruitment in Dubai.
Yeah.
So again, it's a small world. So for me, you know, meeting my friend over 10 years ago on a rugby tour, you know, having fun and going out, has actually introduced me to Hoxton. So that's the actual way I kind of got in. And me being me, hammering people on LinkedIn, I'm sure Hoxton must be thinking, who the hell is this guy who's messaging everyone? It was actually to work with Hoxton to do wills and trusts, because that's a part of my business that I want to improve on and collaborate with someone. And then got speaking to Ollie and Jacob as well. So from the first episode we did 2 years ago about messaging people on LinkedIn and creating a role, Hoxton weren't really advertising for a self-employed protection only advisor. It's just happened organically. And that's why I'm a big fan of LinkedIn and networking, speaking to people. And that's how we got there. So if I hadn't been out for drinks in Vegas, none of this stuff would have happened. So that's the actual truth of how me getting to Hoxton was through Vegas.
That's mad.
Yeah.
So what happens in Vegas doesn't always have to stay in Vegas.
Correct.
It could actually end up in Dubai.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having conversations with people and enjoying the business. That's really, really good. I'll tell you what, there's a little bit more serendipity in this one. And Chris Ball, CEO of Hoxton, was on my podcast. Yeah. You've been on my podcast. And Jonathan Jay's been on my podcast. Isn't that funny?
It's a lot of good people.
It's a lot of good people.
A lot of good people.
So I wonder who else who's been on my podcast is going to potentially join me on my journey and join me there at Hoxton. And there are a number of people in the pipeline that there might well be. And guess what? They have been on the podcast. And it goes back to this whole marketing, doesn't it? Whole personal brand thing. When you do build a really strong personal brand and you build a really strong network on LinkedIn, it does come back to you. So what you put into it might not feel it's happening, it's not working. But 1 year, 2 year, 3 years down the line, it can massively impact your life in such a positive way, because it's done that to me and it's done it to you. I just want to go back on what you talked about the last 2 years. I'm really sorry to hear about your dad. That's horrible. And part of life, isn't it, is people die. And there's a big part of why you're passionate about protection and what it does for families and the security it actually brings in life, right?
Yeah.
You do my own life protection, and you, when I said to you I was buying a house, you were like, get life protection in place. And even at the time I was like, I was stretching myself on the mortgage, and you don't think about the actual protection side of it is so important. But we just had a conversation about it, didn't we? I'm moving over to Dubai. I need to make sure that I'm covered, income replacement, critical illness. Is it all in place? Because I want to know that if anything happens to me, my family are looked after. So protection being the fundamental framework for financial planning. We look at protection first. You look at pensions. Have you got enough to retire on? When do you want to retire? And anything that's left over as investments is hugely important to Hoxton, which is why they brought you in to be able to start developing that in the UK. Because you're starting in the UK, aren't you? You're not, you're starting in the UK. The very fact that they've got an international cross-border presence is positive for you, because it gives you future opportunity. If you want to move to Dubai, which possibly could be in your
maybe. You never know.
Never know, right? Yeah, we'll see how we get on. I might convince you, eh? Mind you, it's hot over there at the moment. That could be an option for you, right? You never know. But it's nice being part of an international firm that gives you those options. You talked about mental health within that as well, which is obviously, I'm a massive mental health advocate, big fan of any kind of talk therapy. You've experienced that bereavement counselling, and it's had a hugely positive effect on yourself. And thanks for sharing that, because there'll be people listening who will go, I'm going to do that now. But people listening, maybe you don't realise that it could actually be part of their policies.
Yeah, correct.
So talk to us a little bit about that then. So how come it is part of the policy then? I thought it was just life cover.
Good question. It's just a value add. So I feel a lot of insurance providers do want to show like you're not just paying your money every month and you're not getting any benefit while you're alive. There's that. There's health reviews, nutritional advice. It depends on the provider you're with. But if anyone is thinking, do I have it or not, just check. And if you're not sure, speak to your broker. They should be able to point in the right direction. But like I said, pretty much all providers do offer some sort of form of like mental health bereavement support. Not all of them, but just double check. But they are getting much better at it.
Fantastic. Yeah, well worth noting. And also kind of another USP, isn't it, really, for advisors to be able to offer protection to their clients. Not only are we looking after you and your family if an illness or a death happened, but what we often do is overlook mental health, isn't it? And I remember when I spoke to you about setting up my policy that I was concerned, like, I have had some mental health problems in the past. Is that going to affect my, should I have to admit it? Is there, what happens if I make a claim, and will my premium go up? Are they a bit more flexible these days around things like that?
Definitely, which I'm proud of. Every case is different, but they are getting much better at it. And I've had, it's common. I've been doing this job for 4 years now. It's the amount of times I speak to people who have, stress, anxiety, depression, or had to take time off work or take medication. Like, it's very common. And I'm happy that the providers aren't looking at it as a negative thing. I've also had a friend who tried to attempt suicide. And he came to me for protection. Help, and I said I can try. It might be a no, but let's try. And 2 providers said yeah.
Wow.
It was rated and it was expensive, but they said yes. They didn't say no. So then that's another massive thing as well. If someone's attempt to take their own life, you can still get cover.
Yeah.
That's the bit about the industry. Again, it's not a sexy, glamorous topic, but it's important because it's stressful. And like I said before, with me, I couldn't stop because I didn't want to really sit and think about what happened. I'm like, just go on as normal. And I can't stop because, the bills are coming out and I don't want to lose momentum. But I had a breaking point in January. So I have to get out of it. And I picked Dubai because it was kind of close and everyone been talking about it. I was like, I might as well just go. I'm just going to go by myself. So it's weird how something negative changed everything. And the amount of people that met with me for a coffee or a drink was huge. Some people I didn't even know.
Yeah.
You know, and I actually got a job offer out there as well from another IFA firm I won't mention. But it's still great that that could happen. You know, I could just message someone, and we spoke in their office for a good hour and a half. And this was the COO of the firm, so a really senior guy. And I was just telling everything that had happened. He said, yep, if you ever want to come, just let us know. We've got a seat for you, which is great, you know.
That's beautiful. Did you find Dubai had an energy about it of people wanting to help each other and wanting to get ahead? I found that.
Yeah, Dubai is great, especially the expat community. We all want to help each other. It's scary moving abroad. I lived in New York when I was 22, did investment banking. It is scary. It is a new culture. It is very fast paced. It is very expensive. It can be lonely and scary, but everyone helps each other. You know, that's what I really loved about Dubai. There's always a brunch going on or a boat party. You know, everyone pretty much speaks English. It's safe. It's great. I think it's a really good place to build your network. It might not be for everyone. And again, the stigma that Dubai had, I kind of was like, I don't want to spend loads of money, and you know, it's kind of superficial, but it doesn't have to be like that. No. It's like, anyway, we're in Knightsbridge at the minute.
Yeah.
And everyone can shop at Knightsbridge. You know, there's nothing wrong with Primark.
Yeah.
There's always something for everyone. And I think Dubai has that. I think it really wants to develop itself into, you know, a global powerhouse, which it's doing. And it's just getting better and better, and seeing the development of that country over the past 10, 20 years is massive. And what they say they're going to do, they actually do it. And, you know, people are flocking there, and they're thousands to go and live there.
Yeah. I think you've got to be careful with Dubai. If you are drawn into the Dubai lifestyle and you can't afford the Dubai lifestyle, you know, there's so many stories of people going to Dubai and leaving Dubai in more debt than they were when they went there. So I think if you live by your means, you'll be okay. I mean, it is expensive. Yep. You know, rent is expensive. That's one thing that's caught me, is that, you know, I'm probably looking at anywhere between £3,500 to £4,000 a month in rent. Yeah. You know, school is about £15,000 a year. Yes, you're not paying tax, but there are increases in some of the costs that you are paying for. So it's just worth, I think, taking those types of things into consideration. Property is shot up, whether that's renting or whether that's buying. So it can be quite tricky. So I think, like, when I looked at it, like, realistically, I think to have a nice lifestyle for a family of three was like 100,000 sterling was when my kind of thinking. Yeah. So I based it off of the minimum of that, and then made them pay me 10 times that. But no, I based it on the minimum of that, and I thought that was quite realistic. And I did a bit of research around it as well. So I think it's important that you are kind of realistic. And also, if anyone's listening to this and thinking, I'll just go over to Dubai and wing it, don't go over to Dubai and wing it. There's loads of people that do that. And I would secure a job before you go, because there's plenty of people that go out there thinking they can get a job. It's actually a really competitive job market out there, unless you've got a skill set that's needed and required. So that's a bit of my advice on that side of it. But in respect of a city, it's actually kind of cool because it's got beaches. You know, I'm not a big don't drink at all, so I don't go out and party and all of that. So from an expense perspective, I'm guessing kind of like my expenses will be things like, I'm really looking forward to going to like Amman, you know, and going on some different holidays that are a bit closer by. You've got the Indian Ocean, you've got India 3.5 hours away. You know, as a family, we want to spend time traveling. That's some of the things that we want to do. Could I ever see myself going back to the UK? I don't think I'd ever want to go back to the UK. I've got my house here that I'm renting out, but I like the idea of maybe buying and building a house in Southeast Asia or something like that. So it's kind of it's an adventure, and I'm excited by it. I'm not trying to sell the dream to you so you come over as well. You do what you got to do in the UK. But that's the beauty of Hoxton.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Options
On an international scale. So you were you're big ambitions. You're a top advisor out of 200 in the firm that you were in, right? That's amazing. Winning awards left, right, and centre. Social media, and I remember you were like, "I'm going to get myself on social media. I'm going to push forward with this." How did that go? Did you find that the social media energy and effort you put in, did it pay off?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It takes a while. It's not a case of you post once, you're going to get a client. You've got to be consistent.
Yeah.
And people are watching. Like you said, people might watch you for a year and 2 years just to see if you're a real person. They're scared that you're just going to run away, because so many people do that. They're here 1 minute and they're gone the next. And it's helped. And I just think it's a part of business. It's marketing. And the people that don't do it and the firms that don't do it, they're going to get left behind. You know, look what you've done from your past podcast 4 years ago of how it was and the quality, and look what you've got now. You never would have thought that 4 years ago you'd be doing this.
No.
And now you're in a position where you get to do what you love and interview people and travel the world, and because of it. That's the power of social media. Like, social media is whatever you want to get out of it. The platform that you've got, the reason why everyone loves it is because it's real.
Yeah.
And people have learned something, or they've managed to speak to someone, they've networked, or they've managed to get a job in something that a lot of people don't even know exists.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of commentary on, especially LinkedIn, about our industry. And yeah, there are negative parts of it, but there's loads of positives as well. Especially getting younger people into it. They just don't know it exists. So when I was in uni, I just wanted to do banking, and I did investment banking, corporate banking, retail banking, consulting. I'm proud I've done it, but I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. I had the opportunity, but if someone came to me, you know, at 22, what I know now, like, hey, maybe you should be an IFA, it's completely different. Because when you say, what is an IFA? What would you say an IFA, the stereotypical IFA, what do they look like? What's their age?
What, me?
Yeah, if someone says they're an IFA, what do you immediately think?
Oh, white guy, middle age, glasses, suit.
Yeah, boring, right? Which is
that's pretty much
yeah, that is fine. And I'm the polar opposite. And loads of people you've had on this podcast are the polar opposite.
Oh yeah, massively.
And they're doing amazing things. And I feel with this industry as well, loads more women are going to get into it.
Yeah, huge.
It's amazing. And I love this industry because I work from home. I get to spend more time with my family. I can work around them. I can't do that in the bank.
No.
You know, I've got to be here at a certain time in the morning and leave at a certain time at night, and I've got to go drinking.
Yeah.
I have to. You know, that's part of the job description, where this is different. I get to work around my family, and I think a lot of people would like that. And what I love about this industry is you get paid to be you. That's amazing. You know, other roles you might have to put yourself in a box or tone yourself down. I've had that where someone said tone it down or this and that, and I'm like, well, I don't want to be there if I have to change who I am.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about this industry.
Yeah, nice. Even allowing you to be that authentic individual that you actually are. Training and development is also a passion of yours. Do you want to be able to pass on your knowledge of protection, how to position protection, how to work with clients around protection? Is that something you're going to look to champion when you're at Hoxton?
Yeah, I think if I've got time for it, it's definitely something I want to do, particularly around the protection side, because some people don't necessarily understand it or don't want to have the conversation. So if that's something that, you know, I've got capacity for, I'll definitely work with you, Financial Plan Life, on that. Because once people know that they can do protection, it's an easy way to get in. It helps with a lot of other things as well. Investments is the glamorous, sexy thing, but it can take a long time, where, you know, you can do a policy and it's live in a week. So if you're going to build a business, protection is great for cash flow. Again, mortgages take some time to do a mortgage. You can't do a mortgage in a day. No. Protection, you can do that. So that's why I think it's not really utilised enough.
Well, Hoxton have actually got a something called the Pathway. So it's an academy, and it takes anybody from no experience all the way to becoming a financial planner, whether they want to be a financial planner in the UK or they want to be a financial planner in Dubai, right? It's not a self-employed academy. It's an employed one. So we can take people, no experience, all the way through without the pressures of self-employment. But as we've always said, and you and I agree on this, right? A great way to make money quite quickly, or a great way to get in front of clients, and a great way to start experiencing needs-based solutions, product sale, is protection. So it's wonderful to have yourself there with the expertise and knowing that you're in the business, and the level of success you've had around protection and your passion for it and your passion to share it, for me, is like, it's a no-brainer. I'm glad you're in Hoxton, because if I ever want to talk to somebody about protection, you're the man I would talk to. And if I ever wanted to push some information or content out around protection, then now I've got you in the business. If I want to create some content around protection, we've got you in the business, and you're dare I say it now, a bit more media trained, you know what I mean? So, there's lots of things that we can create. So for me, from a creative perspective, it's really exciting having you in the business. Obviously, I think you're a fantastic guy. And I think you're going to do incredibly well here at Hoxton, mainly because you've got the right attitude. You've got the need to achieve attitude. Things don't come easy, right? That's why you chose self-employment. Yep. You don't want the easy route. You just want an environment that's going to be able to support you.
Correct.
Right? You want to be able to support you. You touched on things like the app. Fantastic. 25 odd app developers that I've met. Unbelievable. And they're building that app out more and more and more and more. Content creation, social media marketing, all the things that you value, we're investing in. You've obviously brought me on board. We're creating Expat Life, which is going to be your podcast and YouTube, all about being an expat in all the different countries that we're in. So we're really looking forward to building that. Educational content. I won't talk about who I'm talking to at the moment, but he's a top educational content creator for financial services, like financial coaching. So fingers crossed we can get that individual involved and incorporate that into the app and the YouTube channel again, to be able to kind of raise awareness of the power and the benefit of good financial planning on our well-being. Chris has huge aspirations as a leader of that business. Working with him has been really, really good for me. Like having somebody I can turn to, talk to, and be coached by the level of expertise that individual has is huge for me. Do you know how else is huge for me? They're a young company. 6 years in the making, and Chris is 37 years old running a company with nearly 2 billion under management.
Yep.
It's incredible. The team around are young, enthusiastic. They're not building up for an exit right this second. They're growing a business and seeing where is this going to go. So that growth mindset and a very complex business, multi-jurisdiction, to me is just like, yeah, this is going somewhere. I'm well up for this. I'm glad you're on the journey, and really, really looking forward to working with you.
Okay. Thank you. You too.
Cheers, Adrian.
Thanks.